Hi guys, I've just come back from an event, and the event was the launch of the UK Business and Charity Digital Index for 2018, commissioned by Lloyds Bank. And it's a benchmark of the digital capability and skills within the UK's SMEs and charities. So they look at things like a company's ability to deal with cybersecurity, the diversity of their workforce when it comes to tech and things like that. It's really interesting. But one statistic that really shocked me was that 95% of charity websites don't currently meet accessibility standards. And what this means is that if your website's not accessible, then you're literally creating a barrier between your services and the people who need them. So this would be similar to not putting a wheelchair ramp in a shop, for example, or not putting a lift in a building with more than one floor. And we really need to work on this because there are 1 in 5 people in the UK that have some kind of disability. You know, this could be a vision impairment, a hearing impediment, or a motor problem or cognitive issue. And you know, by making your website accessible, you are tackling some of those problems and making that information easier to get to for people with those issues. So 95% of websites don't meet accessibility standards. I keep saying it. And we need to understand who is responsible for this. There are 2 parties in my mind who are responsible for this. One is the developer that actually created the website, and the second is the people who continue to build and use the website after it has been launched. That would be the charity themselves. So as a developer, as a web developer myself, I have a responsibility to engage with my customers and make sure that that website is accessible to their users and it meets their specific needs if there are any. And I think that the reason 95% of charity websites are not accessible is possibly because the conversation isn't being had. And what I mean by that is I think people trust developers to do the job properly and to do the job well. But I think a lot of developers tend to be younger people, more able-bodied, and it's not an excuse, but it is possibly a reason that they're not challenged with the knowledge that there are disabled people in this country that need these additional things to be considered when they're designing and building websites, right? So that's one part of the problem. I think the other part of the problem as well is the education level on the side of the customer. So when your website is launched and you're writing content for it, you're producing videos, you're producing images, you need to make sure that all of this is accessible as well. So if you upload an image to your website, you can write some alternative text on there to describe that image. That's one way of making that image accessible to people who may have a vision impairment, because then they still know that there's an image there. They may not be able to see it, but if you describe it to them, they then understand what that image is all about. Similarly, if you have an audio file up on your website, a podcast, for example, make sure that you transcribe it to text, because not everybody can hear that audio file, so they're going to want to be able to access it in another way. These are very quick wins. You could make your website accessible probably quite easily by just following a few basic standards like this. In a way, it's kind of common sense when you think about it. So I'm going to end this video with a few tools that you can use to, first of all, check how accessible or otherwise your website is, and secondly, to work out how you can actually improve things. So I'm going to put the links to these tools along with the report in the description of this video. So go away and have a look at it. Shouldn't be too difficult to get your head around. If you have any problems with any of this, please do give me a shout. You can leave a comment on this video, or you can reach me on the website, which is charitybox.io. There's a contact form on there and an email address. So yeah, let's go out there and make all of our websites accessible to people who need it and to people who don't, and make sure that the report that comes out next year shows a massive decrease in that ridiculous 95% inaccessibility number. Good luck